baseball lifestyle. It's my lifestyle.
Touchdown catch on a play where Poyer, if he's a foot from across the field, a foot sooner, it's a pick six and it's a route.
Yep.
You guys had 68 total yards of offense.
I didn't like that throw.
In the game.
Yep.
68 total yards of offense in the game. The only reason the game wasn't a blowout is the Bills didn't care. They knew that anytime they'll just be like, we're going to win. They were doing funky stuff, going for it 30 yards away. Like, we'll just go for it now. It doesn't matter. I like how you threw in the Ohtani drop. Excellent work.
I forgot to put that in there. I think I made this yesterday morning, and I didn't see all that Ohtani shit till later.
Are we recording?
We might be.
I want to know because I want to get back into the where we were.
I mean, I can hit record. I hit record already. It's a matter of, do you want me to?
I could hit record.
Hit
no,
record?
I'm
just do it.
It's already recording.
Cool.
Excellent.
Welcome back to the Grounds Crew, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Josh Gerson, along with my co-host,
Bill Ron. What up, guys?
Welcome back. As always, make sure you like and subscribe. Bill, before we started rolling, we had a conversation going. We stopped because we wanted to get back into it. What are your thoughts?
The first thing we were talking about was the Tom Hanks saying that his favorite movie he ever worked on was A League of Their Own.
Yep.
And he said it. He's like, we were in middle America, in a house in a cornfield with my family.
Mm-hmm.
We went to the Dairy Queens in the afternoon, and we were getting burgers at night, and it was this classic American idea. And he's like, and then I got to play baseball, and I got to just hang out and play baseball all summer with my family, and eating hot dogs and doing all this stuff. And he's like, it was the most fun I ever had. And we've talked on this show that I think that movie in general has to be in the conversation of the best baseball movie of all time. Mm-hmm. And hearing Tom Hanks of all his movies say that that's the one that's his favorite he's done is amazing.
Yeah, I loved it. And speaking of women in baseball, big news this week. The Yankees promoted former hitting coach Rachel Balkovec to manage their Low-A team, the Tampa Tarpons. And I think it's amazing. I've heard nothing but good things about her philosophy, and it seems like a great move.
So I met Rachel for the first time in 2016.
Okay.
And Rachel was a strength and conditioning coach. Yeah, so I met her at a conference, and then a few months later, she was the talk of baseball because she was getting the coordinator position inside I think it was either the Cardinals.
It was the Cardinals, I believe.
So it was Cardinals. And then she was like a minor league coordinator for like international people. Mm-hmm. So she learned Spanish, everything else. She had gone actually. I'm pretty sure she played at University of New Mexico as a softball player.
Yeah, she did.
So she learned Spanish, learned culturally what was going on. But she was a strength coach. Mm-hmm. So her whole thing then was, again, like how analytics changed the game, like how we were looking at strength and conditioning stuff, what's actually important for a baseball player. And at the time, and there was a study going on, there was things about eye tracking and movement of cricket players and things like that. And I'm pretty sure she went international and got a degree or did a whole program.
In the Netherlands, yes.
Okay. So see, I have good insight.
There you go.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's time, and she goes the Becky Hammon way of, kind of coming up as a coordinator, coming up on the lower ranks. The only surprising thing to me is that she was a strength and conditioning coach, mm-hmm. which already has its barriers for a female athlete to get into a male sport. Mm-hmm. So for a woman to get into that was already difficult. And then she made a pivot into being a hitting coach, which I think, again, is very, very interesting that she was allowed that latitude mm-hmm. because it's not how she broke in.
Right.
But I appreciate the fact that the things that make a great strength and conditioning coach will help a hitter and help a pitcher, right? You guys know I've trained a whole bunch of guys who throw 95 plus, and knowing how they need to move helps that. So Same thing as a hitter. I'm super happy for her. And then the last time I met her actually was at All-Star Weekend.
Yes.
She was at
Well, she was coaching at the Futures game, and then I believe she was at Players House, if I'm not mistaken.
No, we actually saw her. I saw her at the party we all went to with the Players Alliance.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So at the Players Alliance party / talk, she was there, and I said hi. But yeah, like super happy for her, super happy for the game. We'll see how it goes, but I think she's going to do a great job. She knows how to coach, and at that level, I know she's going to do a great job. Yep. And we'll see. Maybe at some point in time, she'll be the first hitting coach at or first manager at a MLB level. So we'll wait and see.
Yeah, no, but I love that. I think it's a really of all the negativity we've been talking about in baseball, I think it's an absolutely great thing for that to happen. And I think she wouldn't have gotten as far as she did if she didn't have a great amount of knowledge to bring to the table. So.
And again, it's nice when you don't so much has moved towards analytics, but at the minor league level, that's very, very hard to show your ability because you don't necessarily have access to the same things. Right. But her coming from the strength and conditioning side, she's used to using some of the platforms that we utilize to look at movement and how somebody's getting in and out of position. So she talks about how she really leverages into that. I think that's why this was an easier transition for her. And while she's maybe past other people, because I know guys who are coaches in the minors, and they've been coaching position groups, they're not managing teams. So the other side of it is her being able to speak Spanish, relate to multiple players across multiple levels. Yeah. There is a need for that at that level. Again, happy and excited to see what it means. I hope it opens up more positions. I don't think you need to play the game to be a great coach.
I don't think so either. I think, like you're saying, she understands how to develop an athlete, and I think at that level especially, that's a place to do it and where she can shine. And hopefully it leads to even more opportunities for her to move up the ranks and also for other women to get into baseball. I think it's awesome. Other baseball news this week, finally, the MLBPA and the MLB are meeting today. That's Thursday. What's today's date? 13th. They're meeting for the first time in 2022 to talk core economics, and which is the first time they've had any discussion about that since the lockout happened. I don't expect to get much news out of this, or I'm honestly even much progress, but it's good that they're at least meeting and getting started. However, we are 31 days from pitchers and catchers reporting. So
the thing is that they've been having this conversation now for a long time. So to some of it, everybody knows the big rocks.
Yep.
Right. It's not like, hey, there aren't big movers that everybody knows. So the question just comes down to is who in the room is going to concede that they're all being childish and that this game needs reformatting or it's going to get left behind by the other sports. So this morning I found myself watching European basketball highlights. And I've watched in the past because Kristaps Porzingis played overseas. Sure. Other guys that the Knicks have had and other people have played overseas. So you go back and you watch highlights of when they played. And you look in the stands, and the stands are half empty all the time, right? So I'm watching a random game with one of the Knicks' second-round pick. And I notice in this game that the place that they're playing is completely packed. Packed out. For a random game in the middle of the year. Now, again, I've watched these highlights before. This is not rare. But there's more people now watching it internationally. We know Chinese basketball has gotten big. We know that all this other stuff. So hear me out. I have a point of why I'm saying all this stuff. Right? Okay. The next layer to the fact that basketball has become international is, do people in the United States watch European soccer?
Yeah.
A larger and larger degree now, right?
Absolutely.
Why? Streaming has allowed us to watch anything live, right? Watch it on repeat, slow it down, record. I can do whatever I want. Has F1 ever really been big in the United States?
I mean, I only got into it recently because of Netflix, which I know a lot of people have, but it's gotten extremely big. They're adding another race in the upcoming year, so it's getting bigger.
It's now becoming a bigger piece of the American sports landscape.
Right.
Why? Because of television, because of exposure, because growing it matters to both sides, right?
Yep.
The race car drivers, the race car owners, and the governing body of the sport all want to see it grow. The NBA, the players, the owners, and the league all want to see it grow. Basketball's starting to overtake as a global sport more so than I can ever remember, and it's going to catch up to soccer. It's going to catch up in that regard because there's different levels of it. You could play it everywhere else, but you're seeing these diehard people who love the game. It's fun, exciting, it's high scoring, it has all this great stuff. So now we're wrapping this back around to baseball.
Mm-hmm.
And baseball is a dinosaur in everything it does on both sides. And they're so stuck in, we always used to make our money from X and Y. And this used to be important when we knew X or Y. And all of it has changed. But they're making such slow progress on everything else. Like the NFL just decides, you know what, we're going to pop a Nickelodeon game. Cool, say no more. Nickelodeon game going. Kids are now watching the game, and parents love putting it on for their kids on a Wednesday that their kid watches Slimer Ball, right? Like, great move. We didn't have to go through 9 million freaking things. That was able to just, hey, we got a thing for the kids. Excellent, awesome. Make us all more money? Great. Cool, we trust you. Rock out. And that's the thing. There's an inherent trust to just go make money. And the MLB just continuously looks like they're all fighting over what was important in 1980.
Mm-hmm.
And it's 2022, guys. Like, everyone, it's broken. Players, you guys want to be able to have an uncapped league? And you guys want to be able to sign these massive contracts? Well, the teams don't have to. There's nothing that requires them to. You go to the NFL, there's a minimum that they have to spend. And they don't have to spend it every year, but they have to spend the minimum on average across the 3-year window. So 1 year they could choose to have a really, really low salary.
Mm-hmm.
They get to roll that money over, and they have to spend to a floor.
Right.
MLB, nothing. You got teams out here this year, $29 million, playing against other teams who are paying $290 million. Guys, it's broken. It's a super, super, super broken sport. Will anybody make concessions that, hey, we got to overhaul the whole thing? And they won't. That's why, for me, looking at this whole thing, the season, no shot, starts on time.
Mm-hmm.
No shot starts on time. And I'm going to guess we're going to get another abbreviated season like we've seen.
How abbreviated?
Oof. Half the games.
I think that's a possibility. Just because you can't do all of this and then say, cool, let's jump into the season. You have to have a spring training. And I forget who was telling me, but baseball apparently is the only sport of all the professional sports where during a lockout, players are not allowed access to their medical information or allowed to train at team facilities. So all these guys have stopped their rehab. Maybe, I'm sure they went to somebody else or whatever, but the fact that that isn't a thing is crazy. Again,
it's because there's definitely your side and our side.
Right.
And this goes back to like the PA. Everybody always used to say the best players association, the most powerful players association in all the leagues was the MLB's Player Association, right? The MLBPA was considered the height of a PA. Probably back before steroids. And I think that they've been resting on their laurels with what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And now teams have utilized analytics. They know guys aren't worth it. They know that they can develop guys. Why am I going to pay this guy all this money? But the players are like, yeah, but now you owe my career this whole time, so you have to pay me to make up for when you didn't pay me. And they're like, no, we don't. Oh, that immediately is a broken system because the owners are wrong for not paying these guys when they're 21, 22. Right? The players are wrong for thinking that they deserve that money for 7-8 years after when there's nothing that says I needed to do that. It used to be this like handshake agreement. Hey, you'll be 30. We'll pay you for a 5-year deal and we'll overpay. But then we started getting 10-year deals.
Yep.
We started getting the A-Rod deals, and every guy is now like, yep, A-Rod deals. That's what I need. It's like, dude, you're like the 5th best player on your team. Alex Rodriguez was the best player in the game, maybe the best player ever. Like, that's why he was getting up. Nope, doesn't matter. Show me the money. Right, Bryce Harper's a really, really great player. Super, super solid. But this is like going back in time and saying that David Wright was going to sign the biggest contract in baseball. Like, he needed a 12-year deal. And it's like, dude, you're really, really good. I love it, but, like, I can't pay you that when you're 41.
Mm-hmm.
But we're doing it. And that's where we're broken. And I don't have high hopes they'll get something done. But this is going to happen until everybody makes a decision that it's broken. And until then, the game's going to get bogged down versus its competition.
Yep.
And its competition being all the other sports. Because why, if you were a 6-year-old kid, 7-year-old kid, and your father was just like into sports, mom was into sports, and they sat down and said, okay, we're going to watch all of the different things, what kid is going to choose baseball?
Not a lot. It's not that exciting in reality.
Like, I have to foster a passion for this game with you.
Yep.
Well, then when you guys don't have seasons, right, we have all this bad stuff, and we have alarms going off like, this should be bad. And instead, like, they're not picking up the slack.
Yep.
And if they don't see it, they need somebody else to come in and independently create. Like, hey, do you agree that this should go to an arbitrator to develop a fair system? Yes. Do you agree? Yes. Cool. We're all out of this. And then they're going to put it together and they're going to come back. And I don't think that it has to look anything like the current system. It should map itself more similarly to what we're now even seeing with the NBA. So the NBA's got their G League teams where they have all these minor league guys who are playing in the G League. But then a player is allowed to be pulled up, right?
Yep.
And sign a 10-day contract and go back down.
Right.
Right? And it's not options. You only get so many per season. Otherwise, you got to sign them full-time. If you don't sign them full-time, they're now free to sign with somebody else.
Right.
But separate from that, when you're like, yeah, but you know what? We have guys who we really like, but we don't know if they're full-time NBA guys. They were like, cool, dope, we have a great idea. We're going to do a two-way contract. Two-way contract will pay that guy more money, so they won't be on the minor deal. They won't be on this lower-level guy deal. They'll be on an in-between deal. So now they make more money to play, even when they're not on the team. And when they come up, they'll get paid like their scaled wage. When they go down, they still make more than everybody else. Well, now that every team's got 3 or 4 guys who are on two-way contracts, and they can come up and play, they can go down. They can come up, they can go down. I can do that all season long. So, again, using the Knicks as an example, just because it's what I know. Miles McBride was a really, really good college player, drafted by the Knicks in the top of the 2nd round, was a stud in the NCAA tournament, really good player. But the Knicks don't have a spot for him and minutes for him on a nightly basis. So he goes down 2 nights ago. Just they pop him in on the Westchester Knicks, him and another guy, Jericho Sims, who was also a 2nd-round pick. And those guys get to play. He goes off for 39 points, like 12 assists.
Okay.
Stud, right? Kills it. The very next night, he's on the bench. He doesn't play, but he's on the bench for the Knicks because you get both now.
Yep.
We can develop you and play you. Guys come into the league, you have a 3-year deal and 2 years of option years. We can choose to turn down your 2 years of option deals. There's a developmental league that's attached to us that allows you to go up and down with freedom. So like the minors now, I only have so many options. So I can only bring you up and down so many times. Well, what if we got rid of the options? Right? What if we got rid of the options? Now I won't have to worry about bringing you up, sending you down and losing your rights, so I don't even bring you up when I should have probably brought you up. I signed this crappy guy off the street who has years of experience, and I don't care. A non-guaranteed contract, I can cut him. No, I can let you. It's so busted because it's just been built on, and it's a shitty foundation that needs to get broken up. I'm losing my shit over this thing.
I know. So here's one, and a good segue into our next thing. Shohei Ohtani was in GQ's first global sports issue, and rightfully so. He is a legend. He made so many waves in baseball last year. But one thing he said that I thought was very interesting is the MLB, like the governing body of Major League Baseball, doesn't actually own the game. And from his perspective, coming from Japan, baseball's had wonderful growth outside of the U.S. And I'm sure from people looking in, the MLB is doing a bad job and it's hurting the game. But the people, like we've talked about it during COVID and during a lockout right now, like people still love baseball. People are still playing the game of baseball. So in that sense, there's tons of growth and there's constantly more kids playing. So awesome. But it is hurting from, hey, like this is the highest level of the game where people in the Netherlands or Japan are like, I want to play in the major leagues. That hurts.
Yeah.
And not being able for the people to consume that and watch it, that hurts their passion for it. And I think they have made a ton of good strides. We have the Little League World Series always helps bring in a bunch of different countries and everybody plays in it. And that's a wonderful experience, great atmosphere, and like a real pure baseball environment, which I would love to see that same type of energy come from the major leagues. But I feel like they've gotten so in their set ways of what they want, and they're not taking into account the fact of the impact that they have on the overall game of baseball. And now it's just getting into the business.
Do you think that the MLB has any control over that?
They have control over what their actions are.
But I don't think the MLB impacts growth of the game internationally.
No, I'm not saying it does. But
do you think the NBA has impact on growth of the game internationally?
So that's what I'm saying.
Yes,
it does. And that's why MLB needs to take into a better consideration of what they actually mean to the game of baseball, which should be glaringly obvious, but they should embrace that, say, hey, we want to make all the right decisions, get the game back rolling, and then, like we were saying last year, wonderful, so much progress. Let's do more of that, and let's keep building, because there is an opportunity for this game to grow exponentially and internationally.
Yeah, we talk about it, like I think it was earlier this week or last week. Friend of the show, Sean Nolan, who pitched for the Nationals last year, was a starter for them to end the year, had a couple of great starts. He was released by the Nationals.
Yep.
I think he requested his release, and they gave it to him because he was on a minor league deal. Mm-hmm. And as a veteran guy, cool, we'll let you go. He signed $1 million deal to go pitch in the Korean Baseball League.
Yep.
Right? Like, so he now gets to go to Korea and pitch. So here's a guy with MLB experience who's like, hey, for me, as a guy who's on the back end of a MLB roster, I actually will make way more money internationally. And now because the game has grown outside of the States, I'm leaving to go play there. And you see this in the NBA. The NBA guys, like a guy starts to not be like he's on the border. He can't really break in. Mm-hmm. He's 25. Like he's gotten a cup of coffee here or there. He's played in summer league, all this stuff. He then goes over and signs a $2 million a year deal to play in Greece, and they give him a house and like he has his rent paid for. They pick him up, and he's a celebrity, like he's a superstar there. Dude, go live that life.
Absolutely.
But baseball guys haven't had a route that necessarily was equal and on par to what basketball had. Mm-hmm. It now is. More and more players are going to Japan. Now Korean baseball. You're going to see guys start going to European leagues to play baseball. What's that going to do to the game quality here? There's two things.
Yeah.
If we keep the old system, right,
mm-hmm.
the game here is going to suffer because you're going to have good guys who are good who choose to leave because here they're going to get a veteran minimum for 1.1 and there they're going to get $3 million.
Mm-hmm.
Why would I stay here? I'm not going to be a Hall of Famer, right?
Yeah.
I get 3 times the money to go somewhere else. Like, I can travel with my family. Like, I'm still relatively young. Go experience it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm out. So the game's going to suffer because you can have worse guys playing if they're not going to bring up the young guys. Or they're going to recognize, hey, now we're gonna free up the minors and allow more benefits to them. And that would then inherently make all these guys who are on the fringe go overseas. That will grow the game. That is what will grow the game.
Yep.
Is better players who shouldn't be here anymore going to the other leagues. What made MLS get successful?
You got European stars coming over.
Right? You start diving Henry Thierry Henry.
Yeah.
Zlatan. You have Beckham signed over here for a little while, right? All of those players came and brought their fandom to a base.
Yep.
and gave an enhanced thing to the league and gave it some validity. Now MLS, right, has some good players, but MLS for us has become a feeder system. Our very, very best players now litter European, and that's the best league. That's like the MLB here. But like our really good guys are here. Our okay guys should start going more international. But the MLB allows the 29-year-old meh guy to stick it out because they don't want to bring up the 21-year-old stud.
Yeah.
And we're all suffering for it. The game is suffering for it. It's not as exciting. A 29-year-old guy like Villar. I know Villar is not going to be a superstar. He might be a nice story, but bring up in his steed our top 3 prospects. Like, let them play. I'm more excited by that. And that's where the NFL gets it and the NBA gets it. The young guys get to participate.
Yeah.
They're involved in the process, even if they're not studs out of the gate. And when you find one who kills it, like who's your favorite Jets young player last year or two?
Michael Carter.
Okay, so Michael Carter, running back, drafted out of North Carolina, was the backup for Javonte Williams, right? Javonte Williams looks like a stud. Carter looks like he's a pretty solid player. What round was he?
Third, I want to say.
Third or fourth round?
Yeah.
Right, so a third or fourth round guy is not supposed to be a starter. Who at most positions. He's now a starter. He looks good. You like, oh, we
give him
actually
an opportunity
found value.
and he has it, yeah.
Why can MLB not do that? They kill themselves by not allowing the youth movement all the times. It's like a guy has to be one of the best players in the game and young to be able to be in.
Right. And we've talked about it a million times. Like the amount of time it actually takes for them to develop and then get to the show and then have to develop more. It's like there's too many like college football. It's you played at Alabama, great. Even if you got drafted in the 4th round, you're in the show now. There's no like, hey, I'm gonna do all these steps and then play and then maybe be good.
And then you have guys like Ohtani who play internationally, crush it from a very young age, and then they come over here and crush it. And it's like the league could do more if it was fun.
Yeah.
I feel like we don't see enough of like the superstar, like best player in Japan come here.
I think we are getting more of it. Like,
right.
I would say every year or so there's 1 or 2 guys that it's like, oh, this guy's pretty solid. Like, come on over.
Who's the guy who was free this year?
Outfielder.
Yep. Outfielder /
I'm gonna
catcher.
Botch his name.
I don't remember his name, so I'm not gonna try.
But yes, he's a solid. We got Ohtani, obviously. Tanaka came over. The lefty on the Mariners, he came over 2 years ago. Really good pitcher.
Yep.
So you're getting more of that, and like, good example of someone going to Japan and coming back and being a star. Eric Thames.
Yep.
Decent hitter. Went to Japan, became an absolute legend. Then came back to MLB and was a monster power hitter.
Yeah.
Love that.
But when Timms was a younger player, he was good.
Yeah.
Right? And he hit for power. He went through a slump, but because he wasn't a superstar, bye, you're out of options. We can't do anything with you. So long, farewell.
Right.
And again, like, those guys should be able to go there, play, crush it, and have it matter and come back.
Do you think the distance of having to go to Japan versus going to, like, if I told you that there was a much bigger league in Puerto Rico, and that's where the MLB wanted to have their like international developmental league, I feel like as cool as it seems to go to Korea or Japan, it is very far away, and the time difference is, I'm sure, takes a toll on like people watching and stuff like that.
So again, we have the insider info to some degree.
Right. So that was my next question.
What
does Sean feel
right?
like?
So looking at Sean's circumstances, right? Sean started off with Toronto. So he was used to kind of quote unquote going international.
Yep.
Right? So he was used to flying in and out of an international city, going to the international airports, doing all that stuff. So that stuff he was very much used to because he had to cross the border all the time.
Sure.
Second from that, his wife is from a European country, right? Moved here very, very young.
Okay.
Her family, very much deep-rooted, like, Eastern European, like, family. They moved to Canada, so, like, he met her there. So there's a lot of stuff there where he felt that. He's from New York. He's used to Korean barbecue and going and getting sushi, right? Like, eating sushi here is normal
For sure.
all the time.
Yep.
I don't know what that's like for somebody who's living in Omaha, Nebraska to have sushi on a regular basis, right? Probably not.
Don't get sushi there.
Probably not, right? So like and that's the thing. So Sean had that experience. But the thing that unlocked Japan and Asia for Sean was when Sean got picked up by the Mariners, right? So when he went to the Mariners and he was pitching in their organization, he was their best AAA player, and he was their best AAA pitcher for an entire season. Their international scouts who live there and have great relationships with the scouting departments in Seattle, they now looked at it and go, we know this guy can play. So he was in a city and on the side of our coast that has deep roots and connections. He's from a cultural standpoint where he knew a lot of it. It was the perfect fit for a guy like him, and that's now why he's going to Korea. Because you're now going to go to South Korea, which is very, very similar economically, socially, things of what a higher-end Japan, Tokyo is like. You know some of the food. It's not like he's going to go there and be like, oh, I'm not used to this. Smooth. But, like, there's so many American kids who are so sheltered that they're so afraid to pull that trigger.
For sure. Like, you get a kid who went to, let's say he's from Mississippi, went to Mississippi State, played in the minors for a couple of years in the small town America that the minor leagues are. And then it's like, okay, I just got cut or whatever.
Yeah.
Where do I go? And we talked to Hunter Pence at the All-Star game, and he went to the Dominican League and played there. And I think that was probably like an easy, because you're already around like a lot of Hispanic culture.
He knew a ton of guys. Yeah.
Knew a ton of guys, like easy transition there. But like speaking about the hypothetical person from Mississippi, like that's going to Japan seems scary. Even for me, like sure, we grew up around a lot of Asian culture in New York, but going to Japan just seems like a great distance and a big change, and I'm sure that scares off a lot of guys who could potentially go there.
And I'm sure it does. I just don't know why anymore.
So that's what I think. There needs to be MLB reaching out a little more and saying, hey, which I guess is what your point is. We need to make that more of an option. Say, guys, this is a great way to, as a feeder system for this league, for you to maybe come back or do whatever, something like that, make a lot of money there.
And that's kind of, to me, it's, we always look at the few guys who make the trek to come here, and it's the American dream, and we understand it. In the inverse, people in America think we're already at the best place. Why would I leave? Right? But the reality is that we've become such a global world, like economy world, like social. Like I know that there's a ton of dudes who are out here watching anime on their iPads in between games, right? I know that there's dudes in LA who love sushi and have a favorite spot and have sashimi and know some of what that is. And then there's also a heavy and Americanized thing. You see the movie Crazy Rich Asians, right? And using that as an idea of all cultures are starting to become more blended together, that as America, we've been very like blind culturally to other countries' cultures. Where more so lately, like Squid Game, right? So, like there's so much more where other culture, we're more accepting of it now, where I feel like now is a time where you should be leaning that way. Internationally, you go to Japan, all these kids take English as like a class in high school, right? Like you go there, you're not just like you're the only person who speaks English, right? Like there's tons of people who do. If generations of people have been taking English in class to do business, you're not going to be that left out. And I feel like it's a fear thing. And we're too scared as a culture. I would tell you it would be harder for me to play in the Dominican League than it would be for me to play in the like Japanese League, in the Nippon League.
Okay. Why is that?
To me, it's because when I think about myself culturally and like and the things where I'm gonna go to the game. Guys, people cheering on the side, people drunk. Like, I saw the umpire who was completely drunk had to be escorted out of the game.
Yes.
Right? Like, that culturally for me is like, nobody's taking things seriously. Right? Whereas you go to Japan and it's like, oh, no, this is
real.
serious.
It's super
so, like,
serious.
I go there and I'm like, okay.
It also seems like they are really into having fun with, like, the game. Like, they're all-star. And I've seen a ton of people, like, try to campaign for this on, like, Twitter and stuff. Like, their all-star game festivities are a lot of fun.
Yes.
And I feel like MLB could totally use some of that because it just
Yeah.
we already agreed that our All-Star weekend's pretty solid, but I think doing like a skills competition like they do, that old Barry Bonds video where they had the guy on the trampoline, like why not?
Yep.
Let's get after it.
Why not? So yeah, that for me, I think that more players need to open up about going because if they could, if guys like Ohtani are coming here, why wouldn't you go in the inverse? And again, that goes back to a guy like Villar. Like, yeah, he's making money. A better example, if you don't have a family and you're a guy like Matt Joyce, and you're getting a vet minimum contract now, and somebody would pay you 2 or 3 times that to go international, why not? Pack up your family. Like, enjoy a year
Spend
in
a year in
Japan.
Japan, yeah.
Facts, like,
And get paid
culturally,
$3 million
and get
or
paid
whatever.
so much more money,
Yep.
be treated like a hero, kill it, like have fun. Like to me, in my brain,
I'm thinking about all the
none
experiences.
of this makes sense to
Yep.
not go.
Yep.
Right? Like one of my biggest regrets, like one of my biggest regrets in life is that when I was in college, I didn't go abroad for a semester. And I think if I could go back in time, the only thing I would have changed about my entire college life, besides just not going, would have been that I should have gone for an international round. I should have gone to England or something.
Yeah.
And gone someplace where, to me, England is smooth, right? Like
There's no language barrier.
everybody knows roughly what I'm saying. There's
Yeah.
there's some cultural things, but it's the same thing. I go down to Mississippi or I go down to Louisiana and I walk into a backwater Louisiana spot, I might have difficulty understanding what the hell they're saying, right? That's fine.
You're not wrong.
Right? That's fine. I
Sure.
go to England, I'm probably gonna walk into some places and somebody's gonna be talking about Brad Pitt from Snatch. I'm not gonna know what he's saying. But you know what? I can figure it out much easier. I should have. Players here, guys, you think that the MLB is your only option. And the reality is, if you are the best college player and you're in the minors and you're like, I'm not gonna make it, pull cord and go to Japan. Go get paid.
You throw 90 miles an hour, you're in single
Facts.
A, you might get cut.
You
Bro, you
might
throw 90
be-
miles an hour.
You might be the best player. Just go out and be like, hey, have an agent reach out. Hey, I want to come and try out for the team. Go there, participate.
They're
Do
gonna be like,
whatever.
no tryout, you're on the team.
but you might have to try out.
Sure, the team, Japan baseball is very good.
But
Yeah.
you can go. You're telling me you guys got multiple dudes who throw 90 miles an hour? Maybe, probably not. So yes, all of these guys who are yeah, you know what? I top out at 92, and I'm 6 foot tall, and I weigh 190 pounds. I'm a gamer. I can spot up, but I can't get out the elite guy. Go to Japan. Go to Korea. Go to other leagues and play, and do the inverse. And again, I think that would be more exciting for the sport because it would showcase that there's so much more to be done. And I think here we get so caught up in just staying in our own zone that the international place, there's so many places to make money for these guys to go play. Go have fun. And Ohtani seems to be having fun.
Yeah, he sure is.
What I'm least looking forward to, though, in baseball
Go for it.
is Michael Kay on any show ever talking about what's happening in a baseball game. So Michael Kay and A-Rod are getting the quote-unquote Manning cast for ESPN. That seems like one of the worst ideas ever. Not because of A-Rod, because I think he's a gem. Because Michael Kay is vanilla ice cream. He's so boring. I know vanilla ice cream sells a lot, but to me, I won't watch that a drip. It's not going to be funny. The dude just had a hamburger for the first time last year. Michael Kay, I'm in New York. I listen to Michael Kay's show. I have no problems with Michael Kay.
We also have the best TV group for the Mets.
Facts. So and listen, we're also it's the New York bias to some degree.
Sure.
Right? Mike Breen is an amazing announcer for the Knicks. He does all the Knicks games unless there's a nationally televised game, and then he's doing that. So he's the guy who they call in. We're hey, there's a big game. Mike Breen shows up. So the Knicks lose their guy. The Yankees, I guess this is the Yankees, quote unquote, losing their guy to go and do this other. Oh my God, it's so painful. It's so painful.
Yeah.
there's not a guy, though, in baseball that you look at, you could say his voice is like the voice of it, though. Like Michael Kay, I would say, yeah, sure, you get it. Like,
I have a thought, if I'm allowed to speak.
Of course you are.
If you're trying to go with the Manning cast route, why aren't you doing like David Ortiz and Alex Rodriguez, just talking throughout the game? You don't necessarily
Former players.
You don't need a
Former
play-by-play guy.
So that was my first reaction, and just another example of baseball not doing a good job of trying to be progressive. A-Rod, I think, like I know a lot of people have kind of been disillusioned with A-Rod a little bit of like for his like broadcasting abilities. I like his insight, but he's our Tony Romo of broadcasting kind of, but he's not as good as Tony Romo.
Yeah.
But I would have much rather had him with a former player or like David Ortiz or someone in the broadcast space with a big personality that can make it very entertaining. Not Michael Kay.
Not Michael Kay.
I've watched Yankee games. Michael Kay's terrible. Like, I'm just not a big fan.
See ya. That's it. That's all he's got.
Yeah, like, But in the overall like broadcasting space, yes, I don't know if there's anybody really that is the guy. I know the guy from the Padres does a great job, but like, I don't want someone from a specific team. Like A-Rod doesn't do the Yankees. He does Sunday Night Baseball.
Facts.
Period.
Facts.
Go get me somebody who's electric.
Just a former player who's young and connected and was just in the game.
Give me CC Sabathia with A-Rod.
Facts. CC, give me Hunter Pence. Give me somebody who has some, like, I've been presenting and doing stuff. So
Yes.
both of those guys, CC and Hunter, both have podcasts. They both do well.
Right.
Like, those two guys. Go get them. Michael Kay. The show is dead. Episode 1. Like, I'll watch, and it'll be boring. Because what's Michael going to talk about? I don't like condiments. Like,
It's going to be very dry. Personally, I mean, like, I don't really love their setup with Vasgersian and A-Rod anyway. I think it's meh at best. I do like the added things they do on Sunday Night Baseball. Some of their, like, sound and everything, it's cool. But the group is not ideal.
That group is not. That ain't it.
Nah.
That ain't it. Michael Kay is just never it. The lack of coolness is the problem.
Yeah.
And listen, Eli Manning is not cool, but like at least he's funny.
Yeah.
And
For
he
sure.
he layers into his dorkiness. Like,
Yes.
cool. And Peyton
And their
is
dynamic as brothers is
Yep.
phenomenal.
Yep. And they tease each other and they make fun of each other and it's all this good stuff. And it's,
the thing they did
it's
too
the,
is like
it's the double
the
finger
double
guns,
birds
like,
on national
the
TV.
Double birds by Eli immediately like he's not a Hall of Famer, but I might allow it to happen now because that's a Hall of Fame
Yes.
move right there.
And like the guests they brought on have been perfect for everything they're trying to get done. Like
I like that they got kicked off the air for a couple weeks. For
sure.
They were like, we're going to give you a little break. Think about what you did.
yes, but like they've done a great job, and we're talking about it in a positive light.
Yes.
I just can't imagine the baseball world putting together something as entertaining. It's just not.
I could. Like, you know, like, I would love to see it not be, like, let's not go as, like, direct line comparison, right?
Sure. Okay.
However, there's so many people in the game who were either father-son, brothers, cousins, like, related in some way, playing the game together. Best friends. Rotate out guys. So, like, the Rose rotation. Like, he's proven that guys will get on a show every week and just be themselves. Dope. Let's do this. Again, you know what the problem is?
What you got?
PA and the main league hating each other. So nobody's like, no,
So,
can't do that.
Like a cool concept would be they kind of did it last year a little bit. Like get a guy on mid-inning. Give me a little mid-game
Facts.
interview. Like why not?
Facts. Why are we not out on the field, like, for early inning stuff, shooting behind the guys like we did during the All-Star game? Like, get that camera on the field.
Yeah.
Like, have fun. Like, ball could go anywhere. Got to be careful. Like, it could, but most likely won't. I could stand on a spot and I could stand there for hours and not get hit by the ball.
Yeah.
Right? Like, hours. Like, and guys could be trying to hit me and not hit me. Like, stop. I hope they do something fun. But when I saw Michael Kay, I was like, man, dead before it started. Dead before it started. And it's a shame. It's a shame. Because I'm glad to see them trying something new. Damn shame. Damn shame. You know what's not a damn shame?
What you got?
You shared a ballot
Yes.
to me from a gentleman from, I think, the Boston Globe.
Yes.
And so it's a first-time voter, Alex Spear.
Yeah.
So now a couple of things. We've talked about in the past, separate even from the show, I think, that at some point in time, the old writers are going to be getting bounced. And a young group of writers is going to come in, and they're not going to care about some of the stuff that the old writers thought was important. And when that happens, it's going to change what happens on a ballot. This is Alex's first ballot, and he voted for Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, Todd Helton, Andrew Jones, David Ortiz, Scott Rowland, Curt Schilling, Gary Sheffield, Sammy Sosa, and Billy Wagner. So a couple of things. He voted for Barry, Roger, Sammy, and Curt. The reason why he did that was it was their final year on the ballot.
Yep.
And he was doing it because, in his mind, they are worthy of being Hall of Famers, just not first ballot, just not anything else. Like, there was always a thing. But that the Hall theoretically would be not as good without these people in it.
Yep.
I don't know if any of those guys are actually going to make it. I don't think Curt Schilling necessarily deserves it. I don't think Scott Rowland should be in over Alex Rodriguez, who he did not vote for. He did say that if he had more votes, A-Rod, Manny Ramirez would have been his next two guys.
So I could see him being like, okay, this is their first year on. I need to get Barry and Roger in. Next year, A-Rod and whoever else he wants.
Yeah, listen, I look at everything and I go, to me, I get the Alex thing and him saying, hey, I don't think anybody's going to vote for him, so he's not going to make it in anyway. So why am I going to waste a vote on him when I have a bunch of other guys who are, running out of time?
Right. Did you happen to click on the tracker?
I did not click on the tracker.
So it's showing for a percentage of public and anonymous ballots right now, Barry Bonds has 79% of the votes.
So that puts Barry in.
Yes. It also has 77.8 for Roger Clemens.
So that puts him in.
Correct.
I love that.
Yes, I love that as well. I also, what was the other interesting thing? Scott Rowland had 69% as of now. David Ortiz had 84%.
And that's my thing. David Ortiz is his first time up,
Yes.
and I get everything, but he's not as good as Alex Rodriguez.
I don't think so either. I think it also might be David hasn't rubbed people the wrong way a little bit, like A-Rod did with steroids or whatever reason. I also thought it was interesting. Curt Schilling only has 60%.
Again, I don't think that he voted for Sammy, Gary, and Curt, and I don't think any of those guys are Hall of Famers. And that could be blasphemy by whoever wants it to be blasphemy. I don't think those guys are necessarily Hall of Famers.
Yeah, those are. I get kind of the Curt Schilling thing. Gary and Sammy might be more of fandom votes I could see.
Sammy, I think, could get in just on the fact he had 609 home runs in his career.
Sure.
See, but again, like if you were to take out his home runs, right, his home run seasons, where he was like, crushing shots, and you can see the stark difference from 1997 to 1998 when he went from 36 to 66, 63, 50, 64, right? That 4-year real window and stretch.
It could just be him like saying, okay, this is my steroid ballot type thing.
Well, so again, to me, he was not a great player.
Okay.
Right? You look at the 1997 season. He had a 779 OPS, but he hit 36 home runs and 119 RBIs in 162 games. And up until that point, his best season was an 888 OPS. Based off of what I'm seeing from his numbers, if I had averaged them all out, he was a high 700 OPS guy from age 20 to age 28. That's not a Hall of Famer, as an outfielder especially. And then you have this moment in time where he became 5-time consecutive All-Star, right? At age 29 through age 33. So when I look at that,
Mm-hmm.
there is a direct line to I can show you a time where I felt like Sammy did some stuff to become a great player.
Yep.
And I can't get around the fact that he was not a great player before this, right? You talk about Barry Bonds. 1990 Barry Bonds had a 970 OPS.
Mm-hmm.
970 OPS. The next year, 924, then 1,080 in 1992. 1136, 1,073, 1,009, 1,076, 1,031, 1,047, 1,006, right? Now, 1998, he saw those guys start crushing home runs and stuff, and he hit 37 that year. He went from being one of the best power hitters in the game to, you're okay.
Mm-hmm.
But the only season for Barry that actually looks like an outlier for the entirety of his career is the 73 home run season. Year after that, 46, 45, 45. He had hit 40 plus home runs 5 more times before he got to that point. Barry was always an amazing player. He finishes his career with a 298 batting average and a 1,051 OPS. His last year in the league, age 42, after all of the craziness had even kind of come out and happened, my man still had 1,045 OPS.
Yep.
As a 42-year-old man. That dude just could ball.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, when we look at Barry, it's such a stark contrast between him and Sammy.
Yep.
I don't see how Sammy gets in. And again, this is the same thing for Kurt. I look at Kurt Schilling. What did Kurt Schilling have in his career that I look at and I go, Hall of Famer? He had a bloody sock. Like, seriously, we're talking about a bloody sock.
Mm-hmm. There was also a ballot that caught some attention for
all the wrong reasons.
all the wrong reasons. Another guy from the Boston Globe, for back-to-back years, only voted for one person, Jeff Kent. And Marcus Stroman quote tweeted it and was like, "What a clown."
Factual.
Factual. I could not hate this more. Ridiculous. If you said, fine, I'm going to give one vote and it's only for Barry Bonds, it's only for somebody who's relatively worthy. You said Todd Helton or someone that I could actually get behind. Is like, this guy's definitely a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Fine. But this is ridiculous. And we've talked about so many other ballots and things where it's like, you should lose your opportunity to vote.
He absolutely should lose. If you vote like
you're making a mockery at that point.
You're given 10 slots that you can vote for guys.
Yep.
And I don't think you have to vote for 10. However, on every single ballot that is currently available, due to guys like that guy, there are 10 Hall of Famers sitting on every ballot.
For sure.
At least. Because we're now talking about Barry Bonds last played in 2007. It is 2022. It's been 15 years since that man swung a bat at the MLB level. And he is not a Hall of Famer yet. So we have this chasm of time where nobody's been voting. So the whole entire thing is littered with Hall of Famers. And you can only vote for one guy and it's a non-Hall of Famer? Like, you're a joke. And again, baseball is, sadly, become a joke.
Yeah. That was my reaction, and I think a lot of people's to that in particular, because it's just such a slap in the face to you have this power, and you are just not exercising it even at all, and then you're making a joke about the fact that you can do this. It's ridiculous. One last thing, just because I thought it was hysterical.
Speaking of ridiculous things.
The Orioles are bringing in, or no, not bringing in. They're going to make Camden Yards bigger to try and give up less home runs. In the last 3 full seasons, not going to count 2020, they have led the league in home runs given up. I feel like they're missing the point here. Why would you pay to make your stadium bigger? Why don't you pay for better pitchers?
It's cheaper to make your stadium bigger.
Sure. And then the Yankees are still going to hit a bunch of home runs out of your stadium.
But less.
Maybe.
But less.
They hit them really far.
But sometimes.
Sure.
They hit a lot of 314-foot home runs.
Sure.
They hit a lot of them.
They also hit a bunch off of the
Oh,
warehouse.
yeah, for sure. But they also hit a lot of 314-foot home runs.
Fine.
Probably every year there's at least 20 home runs that shouldn't be home runs.
Sure. Well,
Just in their own stadium for
20,
the Yankees.
20 you said?
20, just in the Yankee
Cool.
Stadium.
If you took all those out, they still would have led the
Oh, no,
league.
that's just one team, though.
I'm saying. Oh, okay, sure.
That's just
fine.
one team.
Yeah.
So Camden Yards, if we're talking about Camden Yards, is the easiest place to hit a home run in all of baseball, right? It's the easiest to, like, because you can say that Coors Field is, like, the easiest place to hit a bomb because of the stuff and this and that. There's also if I hit a line drive, it's far enough that it won't go out. But in the AL East, you can hit a pop fly that it becomes a home run. And that change is maybe what they're just trying to say is, hey, when we look at this, it's too easy to hit a home run at our place by such a wide margin that we also can't recruit a good pitcher because they don't want to come here and have pop flies be home runs.
So they're only moving back left field. They're going to make it a 12-foot wall and move it back as much as 30 feet in some areas.
Love that.
Yeah.
Love that. Love that. Again, what's it now? What's it down the line there?
Dennis?
333. It's like dead average down the line. It's left center. It's the shallowest of all the fields.
What's the left center?
I think it was 354.
Oh my
360.
gosh.
That's short.
That's
Yeah.
like hitting a home run to left field, like pulling it down the line at City
Yep.
is like 350. Like, oh, yeah, like that's my point.
Mm-hmm.
You got guys who are hitting them in like gappers that are like, that's about 360, but it's floating in the air to left center and it goes out and you're like,
Damn.
yo. Like, because if you're a guy and you're swinging, just swing hard there.
Mm-hmm.
Don't try. You don't have to have technique. Like, I don't have to be good at baseball. Just go up. Like Chris Davis proved the point, right? Like, I can just go there sometimes, and just swing as hard as I can, and I'll have a good season every once in a while.
Yeah.
I see a look of consternation on Dietz's face. I gotta ask, what's up?
So they're moving the left field side. However, it's 318 down the line and right, which obviously it's a higher fence. But, like, you'd figure that would be something that they're looking to
Again,
do.
That one's probably way harder to do because of all the stuff they have
Yeah.
going on behind it.
I guess also because they have just, like, the walkway not too far behind
Well, so
the
listen.
type thing.
So, but hear me out, right? That team can look at it, and they can say, "Here's what I'm gonna do. We're gonna now load up just on lefties,
For sure.
and you guys come in with a mixed lineup, and we're gonna win our home games at a 75% clip." And you know what else we're gonna do? The entire American League East is, if you're a lefty bat, you're a god.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
because if you're in Boston, it's like a 2-foot high
You pull
wall.
it down the field. But, I mean, you hit it a little more towards center field, it's an absolute bomb.
Sure, but if I pull it down the
But
line,
if you're a righty
it's
in
easy.
Fenway, it's cake. So
It's cake. It's short, but
Yeah.
it's high.
Sure.
I can't hit a home run on a line drive.
Mhm.
Right? Giancarlo Stanton gets robbed by that wall all the time.
Yep.
He drills shots into that thing. Right? One day he's going to hit it so hard it's going to get stuck in the wall. Like, you know what he doesn't get though? Home run. Yeah, I'm with them changing the dimensions. I'm fine with it. I think that again it's cheaper than
it's cheaper than getting a good
But
pitcher.
again, you look in who is the nastiest pitchers in who's got the nastiest pitching staff in the American League East?
The Blue Jays?
Yes, the Blue Jays.
Blue
for sure.
Jays, and then
Yeah.
who's even second?
Is Glasnow healthy? Maybe.
If
the Rays?
Glasnow's healthy, let's say it's the Rays, right?
Sure, yeah.
What do those two also have?
Domes.
Domes, yeah.
But also bigger
Bigger stadium. It's an actual
stadiums
stadium, yeah.
than the other league. So the other people are having a problem bringing in pitchers. And the pitchers they do have are like, everybody's like, he underperformed. He was so good when he was at this other place. And it's like, yeah, but here you guys have fake offense. You think your offensive guys are good. It's why Brett Gardner can still play. He only plays home games.
Brett Gardner's he's a prime example of someone that could have been replaced by a younger baseball
By
player.
anybody. Like, seriously.
As much as I love his grit and like being a veteran
and Clint
guy.
Frazier is dead ass correct. There is no world where Clint Frazier should not have been playing and Brett Gardner got a single at bat. Like, it's a travesty. And again, sadly we got clown noses in baseball right now. And I'm hoping people pulled up their big boy pants and deliver on real change that makes the game better.
I hope so too. Guys, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe as always. We appreciate you. We hope to hear some good news about baseball, and we will see you on the next episode.
Later.
Deuces.
Baseball lifestyle, it's my lifestyle.